Hi, welcome to the sign up page for You Are a Writer, Getting Past the Fear and Finally Moving Forward. This is a video course for writers who are struggling with severe levels of procrastination and perfectionism. I want to do a basic overview of the course, who it's for, who it's not for, and what's going to be contained in every lesson, just so you can have a taste of it before you decide to really jump in. So first of all, this is a course, as I said, for writers who are struggling with severe levels of procrastination and perfectionism. And it's really important that you take note of that word severe. If you have mild levels, if you just tend to put things off, it's not a big deal. You're kind of a perfectionist, you proofread things a couple times more than you need to, you probably don't need this course. This course is for writers who have high anxiety around writing, writers who cannot finish anything, writers who cannot start anything, writers who have a million ideas but can't seem to get traction with any one of them, writers who feel shame around their writing, who feel like a failure as a writer, writers who, when they sit down to write, feel frozen, numb, panicked, overwhelmed, like they want to go into extreme avoidance, and they've had this problem for a long time. This is also a great course for writers who have tried a lot of different approaches to help them deal with things, maybe time management systems or organizational systems, and those things did not work. This course is designed specifically for introverts, intuitives, highly empathic people, highly creative people, people who consider themselves to have a right brain temperament, people who are emotionally centered and very sensitive. I do want to emphasize, though, you don't have to be an introvert for this course to work for you. You could be an extrovert and also be a highly sensitive person or a very intuitive person, a very creative person, and it will still work for you. The course is not for people who consider themselves, I would say, mostly thinkers. It's okay if you feel like you've got a good balance between the emotion and the thinking, but if you're like a hardcore logic, I only want the numbers, I only want to deal with facts, I don't even believe in intuition, that stuff's not for me, this course is not for you. Like I said, if you're looking for something to deal with mild levels of perfectionism and procrastination, a time management system or something of that sort, this course is not for you. If you're completely uninterested in looking at your own psychology, peeling back the layers on your own wounding, your childhood, your past, this course is not for you. So let me give you a basic overview of all of the lessons, just to give you a little bit more in-depth peek at what we're going to be looking at in this course. Lesson 1, we start off with toxic procrastination. It's actually called Toxic Procrastination Part 1. And we start talking about the difference between normal procrastination and what I call toxic procrastination, and how to know which one you're suffering from. We also talk about the fear of self-expression, why it's so hard to move past it, where it comes from. Lesson 2, we continue on with toxic procrastination. It's called Toxic Procrastination Part 2. And in this lesson, we talk about childhood wounding around codependence. We also talk about codependent patterns in families and how that triggers the fear of self-expression. Lesson 3 is called Crippling Perfectionism, and this is our introduction to crippling perfectionism. This is Crippling Perfectionism Part 1. We start off talking about the most common inner critic thought patterns and what they mean. And we also talk about the role of the narcissistic parent in writers who have grown up to have perfectionism. Again, where that perfectionism comes from, it often comes from narcissistic family dynamics. And so we do a deep dive into that material. In Lesson 4, we continue with Crippling Perfectionism Part 2, and we talk about the high-stakes battle for self-worth that writers who struggle with perfectionism go through every single time they sit down to write, and why this is. We also cover the split between the private self and the public persona that almost every perfectionistic writer uses out in the world, and why that causes so much anxiety as well. So the first 4 lessons, as you can see, it's all pretty dark material. We're going to go deep into the past, deep into the wound. We're really going to look at some things. It is going to be kind of a long, dark tunnel. However, starting with Lesson 5, we come out of the tunnel. We start to emerge into the light, and we start getting a grip on a new kind of writing practice. Lesson 5, we start off with boundaries. why boundaries are so important and how strong boundaries really create a strong foundation for a healthy creative life, how to work with boundaries, how to evaluate your own boundaries, how to set them, and why boundaries are so important when you're really serious about getting past procrastination and perfectionism as a writer. Lesson 6, we talk about letting go of expectations. This is a big, tough one for people. We talk about the vicious cycle of overachieving that so many procrastinating and perfectionistic writers go through all the time. We also talk about the unmet psychological needs behind the inner critic statements, so those thought patterns, those statements that you're always being fed by your inner critic, what they need and what they mean and what your inner critic is trying to get met when it does that, when it says very certain things. We also talk about how to move forward with realistic goals, not procrastination goals, not perfectionistic goals, realistic goals. Lesson 7, we talk about working with energy fields, the energy field scale from low to high, and how to move from the lower fields into the higher fields to do your best creative work. Lesson 8, our last lesson, we finish off with cultivating a writing practice with love. This is really about how we move from an outcome-based writing process to a process-based writing process. So instead of being achievement-oriented with our writing practice, we are relationship-oriented with our writing practice. We're ceasing to try to control everything. We're really letting go, and we are deeply surrendering to the process and surrendering to the creative journey wherever it wants to take us, wherever we are meant to go. This is big stuff. I do recommend people do the course in order, starting with lesson 1, go through in order until lesson 8. There's also accompanying lessons with each video. These are written lessons to read through. The videos and the lessons have the same material, but I extrapolate on the material in a little bit of different way in each one. And then there are journaling exercises connected with each lesson, which you can take as slowly as you like. You don't need to do the journaling exercises all at once. And in fact, I say many times throughout the course, please do this course on a schedule that feels good to you. That might be very slowly, or you might barrel through the whole thing at once, but it's important that you do it in a way that feels good to you. There is a lot of material in this course on narcissism, family enmeshment, codependence, addictive family patterns, all that good, juicy psychological stuff. So I'm also including a recommended reading list for people who want to know more about narcissism, they want to know more about setting boundaries and how to do that, and they want to know more about codependent patterns and how that's contributed to the creative blocks in their life. So you'll see that at the very end. It's called recommended reading. It's a big list of books with Amazon links to all of them. I do hope you choose to invest in this course. This is a very different course than you will find out there on perfectionism and procrastination. I have never seen anything like it. I can attest to that. I have modeled it on years and years of feedback and stories from my clients and my students, and the real experiences I've seen people go through in my classes, the real breakthroughs I've seen them have when we use this new system. So I do hope you'll invest in it, because it can be a game changer for your writing. It can be a total game changer for your life. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for giving this a chance, and best of luck to you.